What's next doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by chance. What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth. What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer's state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials. Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your fields, because Pioneer isn't just our name, it's our mission. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
This episode of the RealAg Radio podcast is brought to you by the BC Centre for Agritech Innovation at Simon Fraser University. Are you ready to grow your farm business with cutting-edge technologies and innovative solutions? Our centre will drive you towards an advanced future. Get the investment, expertise, and support you need to test and develop your products or ideas through our Agritech Development Program. Google SFU Agritech Innovation to learn more.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. It's the Farmer Rapid Fire, which is of course brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. For more than 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges with new Optimum Glide canola, Enlist D3 soybeans, performing corn products, and industry-leading traits and technologies to maximize your yield potential. Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more. Of course, our U.S. audience, just stop at pioneer.com. You don't need to type in Canada. You can visit the Canadian site if you want to. It probably will redirect you back to the U.S., though. Okay, it's the Farmer Rapid Fire. Let's dig in here on who our guests are going to be. Jeff Harrison's out of Ontario, Landon Friesen out of Manitoba, Keith Fournier is in Saskatchewan, Steve Twynstra is in Ontario, and Doug Moisey is the Pioneer agronomist this week from Alberta. If you have any feedback on today's show, there's lots of ways to get a hold of me. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You also can find us across any of the social media platforms. The other option, of course, is to always call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. If you are worried about, will there be shows next week? Shaun, what am I going to do? It's the week between Christmas and New Year's. Well, we're going to actually be playing some replays here of Farmer Rapid Fire episodes over the past 5 or 6 weeks. That's right. So we're not going to do best of the year this year. We're just going to play you, see what the farmers are saying, and that'll be a lot of fun. So if you are tuning in here on Sirius XM on Rural Radio 147, that's what you're going to hear. So looking forward to hearing that. And big thanks to Pioneer Seeds Canada for being the sponsor. Let's take a break, and we'll get started with the Farmer Rapid Fire right after this.
FP Genetics relentlessly brings innovative new seed genetics to Canadian farms, ensuring growers, breeders, and farmers are supported and viable. Being a valued partner on your farm for decades, you can expect the continuous pursuit of the best genetics. Visit fpgenetics.ca to discover FP's strong portfolio of wheat, durum, barley, oats, peas, and rye, or contact your local FP seed dealer or territory manager to discuss your certified seed strategy specific to your region.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on Sirius XM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Quinte, West Ontario, and we're talking to Jeff Harrison. Hey, Jeff, how's it going on the farm this week?
It's going great, Shaun. How are you?
Pretty good. You all done your Christmas shopping?
No, that's priority number one, the day before Christmas.
You know what, Jeff? We're cut from the same cloth, my friend. We are cut from the same cloth. Well, like you need a deadline. Like why worry about this in November, early December? Like the deadline's basically the night of the 24th. The mall doesn't close to 9. So you still got time. You got lots of ample time. What's happening on the farm this week?
Well, we're just doing some year-end book work and just some repairs in the shop, and we still have a little bit of corn left to do, and we're actually hoping we've got trucks plugged in, combine plugged in, and we're hoping to go out tonight and tomorrow and get the last bit we got and get her done. How much is left? We only have about 50 acres, but it's just we ran out of space and we got some wet weather and we had some other things we had to get done and we made more space, so now we're going to go get it.
Were you able to avoid some of the heavy dawn pressure in your area?
Yeah, in sort of the middle eastern part of the province, we affectionately call it just hour and a half east of Toronto. The rain shut off the third week of August, so we had a very dry late summer, very dry September, and so yes, we're blessed to not have the VOM issues that they have experienced in some parts of Western Ontario. So yes, we've been lucky, and we hope that's the case as we bring it out of storage too.
So as you're doing some of that last minute, you're talking about some of the administration and some of that paperwork, desk work, stuff like that. What is that? Kind of doing some closeouts on some of the crops or the fields, or what does that kind of involve?
For me, and I guess I shouldn't speak for everyone, but for me, I'm a creature of habit, and I really just like to bring my year end to a close the same way every year. I pre-buy some fertilizer. I try to keep that amount, relative to the amount of farmland I'm farming at that particular year. Get all the bills paid in the same fiscal year, make sure my fertilizer and my fuel and my chemicals, I've sort of purchased the same quantity as I've had in previous years, just so I can come up with a consistent picture in my head for year end.
Yeah, it kind of sort of mentally you're able to kind of close it out and then really do the flip to 24 once you come back that first week of January, assuming you are taking some time off here for a week or so.
Yeah, there's probably much more advanced, progressive ways to do your books, but for the vast majority of farmers like myself that sometimes fly by the seat of our pants, consistency is the way to do it, and that's my year end. Just try to emulate the same as I did last year.
I don't know if I would call it flying by the seat of your pants, Jeff. You're doing the work to close it out to see what the numbers are. Flying by your seat of your pants would just have it all in your head and wouldn't do any of this work, period.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the wrong term I use, but yes, consistency.
Any changes in your mind for 24 when it comes to the farm?
No, I did. The gentleman that I purchased my crop inputs from, a really great fella. Like many of us on the farm, we've always got industry partners that we rely on. Well, he was in yesterday to pick up a check for some prepaid fertilizer and prepaid chemicals, and I loved his comment that he felt that it would be, I don't want to say more than enough, but relative to last year, we shouldn't need as much. So I did like the sort of message he sent that we might be on a little bit of another downward trend on some of these inputs, which I guess that would be once again relative to our corn prices. And it's just a nice message compared to what we've heard the last bunch of falls where everything was on a trajectory upwards and the sky was the limit and we were fearful whether we would even be able to get it.
Yeah, no kidding. That is very, very true. Definitely getting some shipping disruption that is happening right now. But yeah, like I was listening to the radio this morning. They were talking about how when it comes to supply chain challenges now, we've thought so much about the supply chain the past 4 years. that it's got to be improved. It's got to be more resilient. It's got to be whatever word you want to use to describe it. And the timing of that decline of some of the inputs, like you mentioned, somewhat tied to the commodity price, specifically corn. It'll be great if corn is going to slide to the downside from here, that the input prices follow. It's not like this, there's not a lag, because that lag is where you get caught. And even you're potentially facing maybe a negative margin if you're on the really wrong side of it.
Yeah, and the exact opposite situation is what all of us as farmers, many of us, are living. We are just coming out of one of the most expensive input years we've had in farming, in my farming history, as far as the inputs on our wheat crop and our corn crop, and then of course commodities we saw decline, and marketing gurus will be experts, Monday morning quarterbacks will tell you that you should have done this and you should have done that. But at the same time, we've got commodity prices declining and coming off a very high input year. So yes, hopefully there isn't a big lag and we can recoup some of these high costs.
So when it comes to, like, this is kind of the time of the year where we make resolutions or we have intentions or however you want to phrase that. What is there anything on your mind for 24 that you're trying to maybe change in 24? Maybe it's anything on the farm.
It sounds cynical, but one of my main prerogatives on the farm is always survival, and that would be my main goal at all times. As far as changes, no, it's really difficult on the farm to just get all the work done, keep your costs low, be progressive minded in what you try on your farm as far as production methods. But at the same time, we can only afford so much technology and so much trials. My main goal is just to keep my nose down and keep working.
Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on what we heard yesterday from the federal government in terms of this EV strategy, all passenger vehicles electric by 2035? How does that work for you?
It gives me nothing but a headache. I'll be quite honest. I do some work for the Grain Farmers of Ontario, and we always have to be careful about making partisan comments because we always want to be at the table with all parties, whoever's in power, for the best interests of our farmers. But I'll tell you, that objective is getting harder and harder and harder. As we just, the focus has been on 234 and that importance of that to farmers and all these other ideals that the federal government has right now. It just seems so unrealistic. My oldest son is a lineman. He's 25. He's fully accredited, and he said, "Dad, our grid," and he's just speaking about probably Ontario because that's what he knows. But he says, "Dad, our grid won't be able to sustain these ideas," and it seems so unrealistic. It seems like it will put us at such a competitive disadvantage globally. It's very frustrating. Farmers, people alike, to try to get their head around this and understand their thinking. That's the only way I can describe it, Shaun.
Well, I appreciate your perspective, Jeff. I think there's a lot out there. I'm in the audience that probably going to agree with exactly what you just said. Jeff, thanks a lot. Have yourself a Merry Christmas, and we'll chat with you in 2024, my friend.
Yes, you as well, Shaun, and thanks for all the good work you do. Merry Christmas.
We'll continue the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. When we come back, you're listening to RealAg Radio.
What's next for your fields? At Pioneer, delivering industry-leading genetics drives everything we do. From the scientists in the lab to our local teams with boots on the ground. We are determined to get there first. Developing top-performing products, proven in more growing conditions than ever before. Pioneer. What's next happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
As you look ahead to the next growing season, there's a lot to consider when it comes to your crop. You need every possible advantage available to you. The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to make the best choice for you and your farm. On-demand videos with leading industry experts, available anywhere, anytime. Go into the season confident and ready with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Elsa Craig, Ontario. And we're talking to Steve Twynstra. Hey, Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey, Shaun, doing great. Appreciate the call as usual.
Okay, so what's happened on the farm this week? You all wrapped up with corn harvest and moving on to other things, or what's going on?
We finished harvest a few weeks ago, got our tillage. We were kind of waiting for the ground to either thaw out at first and then to dry out, get the tiles running or keep them running. And we finished our tillage program last week. We got the shop warmed up right now. It was a little chilly the last few days, but it's +2 today and overcast, going up to +8 or 10 on Christmas Day. So it's going to be a mild winter here. Shop's opened up. We got guys are getting our tillage tractor because we did some moldboard plowing this year. So getting the tires set up for planting. And the pressure washer seems to be running nonstop. Well, it's mild out here right now.
Yeah,
getting ready to do some trucking.
Not exactly the white Christmas that one would romantically envision when we think about this time of year.
I'm old enough to remember the 80s when snow came in the end of October and didn't leave till March, and you had feet and feet and feet of snow outside, or maybe I should say meters now, something like that. But no, we're in a trend here now for this will be the second winter where it's been pretty mild at at Christmas. Saying that, we're in the southwest of Ontario, in between the Great Lakes, so if the wind shifts a little bit and the temperature drops, we can get hit with 5 or 6 inches of snow in a heartbeat too. But it seems to be short-lived the last couple of years.
You just reminded me. I remember one time, early days of RealAg, and I've told the story before on the air, but in those early years, I would rent the cheapest rental car I could possibly get. And it was like a little Hyundai go-kart I was in. And I was in Ridgetown in January for SWAC. And somebody had said to me, hey, if you're going to the airport, you better hurry up because there's a lake effect snowstorm coming in. And I was like, I've been in snowstorms. I'm like, we get snow out west. I'll be okay. So I remember I headed out and all of a sudden it hit and it was like basketballs hitting the front of that car. when that lake snow, when it snows, she snows.
And you can drive 3 miles and be into the sunshine, and 3 miles later be into a blizzard condition, and a couple miles later back into the sunshine again. It all depends on what direction the wind's blowing off the lakes and temperature of the lake, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah. Hey, that's a great segue into to something I want to talk to you about.
Oh, go ahead.
So this week we had our friends in Ottawa decide that they're going to outlaw or ban or mandate nothing but electric vehicles, and so the snowfall event. I think they're talking to a few folks around here over lunch and so on. It's going to be a pretty cold day before we give up our 4-wheel drive trucks and stuff on the farm. So be interested to see how that thing plays out in the long term.
Yeah, and
if it even becomes a reality.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. I think they're targeting passenger vehicles, cars, vans, and small SUVs. I don't. My understanding is they're not going after pickup trucks at this point, anyway. But
I read somewhere that it's all light duty vehicles, so that'll be your half tons and that sort of thing. But if you got a super duty commercially registered vehicle, you're probably going to be exempt.
Yeah, I wonder, Steve. I wonder, what's like. I live an hour from the Montana border. You live not too far from Michigan. I think we could see a real run on people just going south, bringing a vehicle back, paying the GST, and life goes on.
It depends how they run the border controls, I guess. I don't see anything happening here. I'm skeptical. I guess, like you mentioned, there's a tremendous industry built up in southwestern Ontario on internal combustion engines manufacturing. I don't see it going away. There's a lot of jobs at stake here, and I don't care about how many battery plants they want to subsidize. We had an oil and gas industry, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's just pipe dream for the people pushing this agenda, but time will tell.
Yeah. And hey, do you still have solar panel? Like, you're not like totally throwing it all out. Like, you do some solar panel stuff.
I got my solar panel. It's not as productive as it used to be because this past summer, with the smoke and the haze from the wildfires and just overcast conditions that we've seen more of this past season, wasn't as productive as it could have been. But I'm an environmentalist, aren't I? I grow crops, I sequester CO2 out of the air and turn into oxygen and carbon plants, et cetera, et cetera. We have the 10 kilowatt solar panel that does what it needs to do. It subsidizes indirectly my hydro bill, electrical bill, very, very minorly, but it's still something. And when that contract expires in a few more years, I guess we'll look at what technology is available, whether it's in batteries or just turning it straight into powering their grain bin fans or something like that. We'll just see how we'll have to cross that bridge when we get closer to that time. I'm sure there'll be lots of ancillary industry popping up to take advantage of these solar panels that are still producing, and we'll cross that bridge then. But I think at the end of the day, it was obviously a political decision, just like the EV mandate's going to be, and so it will take a political decision to, dare I say, put some reality back into the equation again.
Tough news on 234 there recently, eh?
Oh gosh, do you really want to go into that one? It just shows how dysfunctional some things have gotten here. When I say we, the ag industry, and I speak generally here, thought this should be a slam dunk when it made it through the House, that with basically all party or enough support to get it through the House and get it into the Senate, and then we reached the roadblock. And I mentioned the word politics before. Clearly it was a political decision. There was influence on senators, independent, I put those in quotation marks, senators, to kibosh the whole thing, and here we are. All I know is that because of the conditions, and I mentioned at the beginning, we dodged a bullet on our crops. We had pretty good production on average, no complaints on the yields, but a lot of extra drying in our corn crop. The moisture was much higher than it should have been for mid-late November or December harvest, and we just do not have the alternatives to dry our grain down. We don't have electric microwave dry grain dryers. It's natural gas and or propane seem to be the two fuels available, and that's what the technology, the industry has adapted to and uses. And there were some pretty significant carbon tax bills going out, and I haven't got my last bill in here yet, but I'm we're well into we'll be pushing $40,000 in this farm for the season to dry our grain, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, when it's a separate...
That goes straight off the bottom line, and as you said earlier, Shaun, I know you got a number of things you want to talk about, but we are not too far from Michigan, and our plants, our ethanol plants, our end users are close to the border, because that's where the water was to bring product in. It's somewhat frustrating to be sitting there delivering corn or grain to an ethanol plant in Sarnia, for example, and seeing plates from Michigan in front of you or behind you, and knowing that they're getting their fuel paid for in that truck and then some to deliver to the same plant we are, and they're exempt from paying any carbon tax or any fair dealing.
Yep.
As far as that goes.
No price on carbon, right?
Nope.
Yep.
Our competitiveness is at stake here, and so are our processors.
Yeah.
So I think that's a critical thing that needs to be looked at.
Well, and the reality is, especially for situations like that, and there's many others. You look at the canola crush plants as an example. From a competitive standpoint, those plants at some point, economics speaks, and they've already got the IRA south of the border. They're dragging capital south of the border.
It always comes down to the economics at the end of the day, and there's trade-offs, obviously. But I think there's a lot of frustration in rural Ontario here on just the hypocrisy of the whole thing. We were promised at the beginning there was going to be, tariffs or whatever word you want to describe, a factor to make it, imports were going to be dealt with similarly so that our competitive advantage would not be destroyed. Well, that got thrown out in the first meeting. So, and it wasn't just a straight $20 or whatever number we are up to now in the carbon tax, but it's accelerating, and that's critical. And then for some of us in Ontario here, and again, I'm not trying to be totally partisan, but then we've got our neighbors to the east of us, Quebec, that's obviously living in a different environment also, and they're not being treated the same as us in Ontario. So it's really become a divisive issue within the industry, and I think whoever can come in and clean this up has got a big job ahead of them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be good for Canada as a whole.
Steve, I want to wish you Merry Christmas and enjoy the festive season, as they say. And we will definitely chat with you again in 2024, and maybe at the Ontario Ag Conference, hopefully.
I'll be down there at Ridgetown, and I really appreciate the time, Shaun, and I wish you and all the folks at RealAg on top of the season also, and all the best. And hope you get a chance to spend lots of time with family. Enjoy the meals, enjoy the beverages, and look forward to visiting again in 24.
Absolutely.
And
indeed.
all the best to all your listeners, too. I really hope everyone has a good season and lots of health and happiness all around.
We've got more of the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada coming up right after this.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to lovely Crystal City, Manitoba. We're joined by Landon Friesen. Hey, Landon, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Shaun.
So, what are you up to this week? You all ready for Christmas?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much ready to go. We could use some more snow, like I think a lot of places would love a white Christmas. We'd love to get the sleds out, but
yeah,
it's been awesome for hauling grain. I'll say that.
Yeah, we had Matt Makins from Makins Weather on the show on Wednesday, and he talked about the fact that we can pretty much expect this sort of warm winter to continue. Like,
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
I'll take it.
Yeah, like you said, it's nice for hauling grain.
Yeah.
Now, a lot happens on the farm. A lot happens in life, and dude, we were texting back and forth. You've had a lot of life stuff happen here in the last 2 weeks. Like, I know we're going to chat about it. Like, it really makes me think about a resilience plan for any sort of operation if you're going to have to take care of some personal stuff. You've had a heck of a last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago I found out I had a brain tumor the size of an orange.
Orange?
It's operable. An orange, yeah, it's that big. And I was having some headaches and some migraines, as one can imagine. And doctor said, well, we'll send you for an MRI. He said it would take 6 to 9 months. I got it in 7 days, which is kind of a blessing in this country considering our healthcare wait times. And so, we found out that on January 8th, I've met with the neurosurgeons already, and we're going to get this thing removed. So,
wow.
But it's definitely changed my focus of what I'm doing. And even, you have farm succession plans. and it's good to have ideas, and we talk about it lots. But I would say that we don't have it down in writing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been meeting with a lawyer, and we've been getting stuff down in writing finally, and it's been good. It's sad that it took a tumor to get some of that stuff going. At the same time, though, it feels good to get some of that done, just in case.
Yeah, well, that's a point I never even thought of. From that end, and it takes a drastic wake up call sometimes to get those things done.
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's based on you're in the mid 30s. These aren't things you necessarily think about at our ages, right? I'm older than you, but I'll pretend I'm younger.
Yeah.
We just don't think of it, right? And so
no.
I'm just wow. Like so, you've got a team on the farm there to kind of take care of some stuff after you're having the surgery in January.
Yeah, so even now already, I've kind of had to step back from a few things. Like it's affecting a bit of my fine motor skills. I'm not supposed to drive semis anymore. Even some of my memory stuff, I'm having a hard time remembering some things until they say they'll improve after surgery. But I started selling grain twice that I didn't have. And yeah, I mean, you want a good relationship with your grain buyers, but when you all of a sudden realize that you don't have that, you're in a pickle. So, no, they've been great. We'll grow some for them next year or whatever. But so I've got great employees that are stepping up and will take over things while I'm kind of down and out and recovering.
Yeah. When do you hope to be back?
Kind of hope to be, well, I can't play hockey or sled this year, I've been told. But kind of hoping to be back by kind of mid-February. I'll be back. I don't know what normal. We'll see what normal is after.
Yeah.
But kind of daily farm stuff again.
Well,
so,
man, we're really everybody here at Real Ag and in the audience, I'm sure, is like we're thinking of you and pulling for you. That's a dramatic situation that you don't plan for. I don't think anybody plans for health issues, but not like this. It's very disruptive.
Oh, it definitely has been, and it's my outlook on life and probably my family time, what we do on the farm will probably never be the same. And again, I say it's so stupid it takes a tumor to do that or a health scare. But these are things that I hope whoever's listening to, you start thinking about those things now before it has to, it's forced on you. It's a lot easier to probably do it on your own time than it is when stuff is forced on you.
Yeah, that's those are very, very wise words, and it sort of puts things. It makes you look at things and put some perspective on it, right? Like what's important, and what are the priorities for this week? And we all make, as business owners, we all make decisions for different reasons at different times, and that's got to wait, and this has got to wait, and we can't do this now. And I promise you, we'll take that family vacation next year when things are calmer, and they're never calmer. And
when we have time.
Or when we have time. After harvest, we'll work. Then we'll do it, and then just all of a sudden, so it's that's you're not alone in that. So don't feel bad about that, because I think we're all kind of in that group, and some of us are probably more extreme than others. But it's good to hear you have a team around you to kind of pick this up and continue forward. So and you don't know if it's a cancerous tumor or anything, right?
We found out that it's not likely cancerous, but we'll figure that out after. There's some other complications with how it's growing down into my brain. But again, a lot of this we won't know how it went until I wake up or after surgery. So they might have to leave some of it in and then use radiation or different methods to try to get the rest of it if it's going to be a problem. So.
Well, I appreciate you talking about it, and I also just want to make sure we're really, really thinking of you. So that's
thank you.
We are
appreciate that.
Definitely doing that. What's the plan for Christmas time?
Well, I got my in-laws are coming up from Alberta, and it's just a pretty quiet Christmas here. I'm excited that surgery is after, and we can kind of have a normal Christmas for the kids. It's not like they have to remember Dad in the corner, some big ugly scar across his head. But just laying pretty low. Probably go visit the rink a few times and do some skating, and And if it would snow a bit, we'd go for a little bit of sledding. But
pretty brown there, eh?
Yeah. Like I can see my grass through the snow. It's pretty brown.
And headed into fall, like definitely dry there, or are you sitting okay moisture wise?
Well, I'll say we're drier than normal. I mean, my soil probe showed that we were quite dry. Yeah, it was. I mean, much like Western Canada, it was really spotty. Like some crops were hit, some were complete bust on the moisture spectrum. But yeah, after harvest, we had a few showers there, and we did a little bit of fall work, and the conditions were great. I can't say that we went into to freeze up real dry. It's drier than normal, but there is something there.
Yeah. Well, really hoping for that spring moisture, really, in a pretty vast geography when you think about it. Well, Landon, thanks a lot for joining us. I really appreciate it. And honestly, man, have a great Christmas with your family. And we're pulling for you in this surgery coming up in early January, okay?
Hey, thanks.
Usually on the Farmer Rapid Fire here, we get informative. We have some fun, some few laughs, poke some fun at some stuff. That was a discussion there with Landon that there was some gravity to that. So I hope there's things to take from it. Make sure you get yourself checked out. And, sort of a bit of a push there to make sure you always, no matter what age, you work on the succession plan. For a bit of a scare there, for sure. And I appreciate him sharing what he is going through, and our thoughts are with him as in January he gets that operation. So I appreciate him coming on the show. We'll be right back on RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture.
Whether you're a rookie soybean grower or a seasoned vet, the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com has exactly what you need to stay in the game. The latest research and the best agronomic advice from industry experts, along with local and global market coverage on demand, anywhere, anytime. Make this growing season your best growing season with the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com.
And we took the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Lone Rock, Saskatchewan. And we're talking to Keith Fournier. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Thanks, Shaun.
There's just one rock there. Is that correct? Just one?
I wish there was only one rock there, but I've pulled a few more of that off the fields in the past few years.
So how did the town get its name then? Like, is there one big rock?
Well, there is a rock that they've got there, and I think it's for display. But I'm not sure how that came up. That was long before my time, and it's probably when the railroads come through and someone was searching for a name. But yeah, I'm not sure the history of that one.
No, interesting. Okay, so hey, what's happening on the farm this week?
Just doing some books. Brought in. Just got some grain cleaned up and finished dumping the last of the seed wheat into the bin here this morning, and got the auger reversed out and all cleaned up and put away again. So just getting stuff lined up for spring.
Oh, look at you being Mr. Prepared.
Yeah, just taking advantage of this, nice weather we've got, not having to deal with the snow, and it's pretty nice working outside these days.
Yeah, it has been a very, very mild winter so far. We've had little bits and spurts of, more wintry weather, but for the most part, it's been pretty mild. Not your traditional Canadian winter, let's say, that maybe we all romantically remember when we were kids, right?
Yeah, I could handle a winter though that maybe isn't a white Christmas. After last winter, by this time, we were wondering where we were going to put the snow. We had bins that we couldn't even, get plowed out without hauling snow out from them. And so, yeah, it's a real treat to be able to work out in the yard with these temperatures and not have to deal with the snow.
It wasn't too many Christmases ago. We had a big family Christmas out at the farm. And it was like all week, like minus 40. Like it was, right where Celsius and Fahrenheit connect. That's cold. And I had the septic tank freeze. I had my water cistern. It was so cold that a latch froze and I couldn't get water into my house. It was like, this is the worst. And I got a house full of people. It was a nightmare when it's that cold.
Yeah, no, we definitely can appreciate what we've got. I think we've all ran into situations like that, and they're memories, but I'm not so sure we want to relive those memories.
Yeah, that's totally correct. Okay, so any big plans for changes for 2024?
No, not really. Just got the rotation set. So, the same crops will be going in. It's going to change up some of the varieties, like change up on a couple of the canola varieties and probably look for, some more of the one or two of the newer wheat varieties just to give them a try on the farm, see what they're like. And, so other than that, probably not a whole lot for changes.
Yeah, did you, how were your yields this past year?
We were pretty lucky. I still don't know how we grew the crop we did on 5 inches of moisture, but, we came in near some of the best yields that we've ever had. And, so definitely met our targets that we had set when we put that crop in the ground. And so we were fortunate in that way.
Yeah, well, that's good. Hey, do you see yesterday, it's Tuesday, the Canadian government announced all passenger vehicles got to be electric by 2035. How's that going to go over in Lone Rock?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, for one thing, I they threw out a deadline, and I just can't see. We're in no way are we going to be prepared to be able to meet that deadline. So they're going to end up having to bump it back, and so I'd be more worried about it if I knew that we'd have to meet it. But it's just another situation where it just causes some worry of what's going to go forward. It's just the unpredictability sometimes of government policy that comes down that affects how we're going to have to do business on the farm here.
Yeah. I tweeted out earlier this week that, I have considered getting an EV car because I live in the city now, and, I got to drive to the studio and then drive back home. It's like a 10-minute drive each way. That's the perfect scenario for an EV. That's like the perfect market. But if I've got to drive from Lethbridge to Lone Rock and back, I'll be okay with my gas powered engine. Thank you very much. Have you ordered a Tesla truck? Have you done that?
No, that hasn't even been on my radar to think about a Tesla truck.
Yeah, me neither. They look a little like a DeLorean on steroids, but yeah.
I have a solar panel in the yard here, and I use it for, I heat the house on electricity, and, it works really well with Sask power being my battery, and I don't have to have batteries here, so I could put the electricity in and pull it out when I need it, so that part works good. I'm not so sure, though, in the wintertime when that solar panel is just not kicking out much power, whether it would work if I wasn't hooked up to the grid.
Yeah, and I just think about the infrastructure required, right? The volume of charging stations required to meet this kind of a mandate. by 2035. I'm kind of like you, Keith. I've refused to be outraged because I just don't believe it's going to be something we have to really worry about. It's a number on the board, political messaging for really a government losing a lot of popularity. If you look at some of the polls out there, for sure. Hey, before we wrap up, any big plans for Christmas?
Yeah, no, it's going to be, just spend that time with family and some friends and a few get-togethers and just make it a social time. We're sticking pretty close to home, and unfortunately a lot of our family is close around here too. And yeah, so it's just a family time and a relaxing time to get together.
Absolutely. Well, Keith, Merry Christmas to you and your family, and we'll talk to you again in 2024, my friend.
Okay, that sounds great, Shaun. Thank you.
And we finish up the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, with a very familiar face to many of you across many parts of Canada, is Doug Moisey. He is a Corteva Pioneer Seeds agronomist in central Alberta. Doug, it's great to chat with you again.
Good to hear from you again. It's been a long time since I've talked to you.
Yeah, well, this is a great way to finish off the Farmer Rapid Fire here in 2023. You've been busy in December?
On and off. It's been hard for a couple of days, and it's catch up in the office, and then phone call after phone call. It's been a real mishmash because of what's going on outside and what guys are doing. But there's still a lot of guys out there that are out doing things outside where they normally would be in their books and looking at things. They're actually out and about, so they're really not paying attention to talking to me, which is good in a way. I get an easier December.
Yeah, but 2024 and that season's going to be here before you know it. And because of that, we really got to do some thinking about it when we've got, even though the weather outside is beautiful, for the most part, comparatively speaking to what it could be, we still got to think about next year.
Oh, for sure. And the thing that we're dealing with here, Shaun, is that there's not much snow out there. So moisture, they're already talking potential dry conditions, etc. But one of the things is this is a great opportunity on these nice days to take advantage, is actually go out into those canola fields that you worked last year, and hopefully they haven't been worked down, is get out and do some plant stand counts. And the reason why I'm saying that is that just to go back and take a look at what was your seeding rate, you knew what your seed size was, get the idea of what kind of survivability you have. And, you remember the conditions from last year. And so we've got to start thinking, okay, next spring, if it's drier, what am I going to be dealing with as far as seeding rates? What do I do? And start mapping out strategies based on soil profile. If you've got some sandier soils, a discussion I had with the other guy the other day was, okay, he's got everything from sand to a thicker black, we'll call it black soil, if you can call it a thick black soil. And he's mapping out, we were talking about strategy, and I'm saying, well, number one, your sand pits or your sand fields, they're the ones that need to be the first to be seeded to take advantage of any early season moisture. And then start mapping out, okay, do I change my seeding rate strategy? Like knowing if moisture is tight, do I, add a little bit more? Do I take a little bit less? And, when we see from research that I did when I was with the Canola Council is that typically the lower plant stands actually had better yields based upon moisture. Now, we don't want to get too low, but we need to think about, okay, on that sand pit, do I need to have 8 to 10 plants, which some guys end up with early in the springtime, or maybe I need to be targeting 5 and 6. So, and then looking at what did you see for weeds as far as like we've got some eastern parts of Alberta with Roundup Ready resistant kochia. It's starting to take over in spots. What's the chemistry I need to be putting on that field? And then, looking at just the overall, what is my strategy about what's going to be the most efficient use of water and fertility, and where can I maximize things? And so, number one, it's going to start with understanding what your populations are, but number two, understanding your soils. And to me is, if you haven't hired a consultant or you don't have an agronomist on standby, you need to be talking to people that are knowledgeable enough to help walk you through what you're dealing with so that you understand about moisture holding capacity, what you need to do. And they're all experts in the field. Like you guys have walked, like the farmers have all been in the field. They know what they see. But this is probably going back to 2003, this is probably the driest we're going to be going into the spring potentially, unless we get some good snows.
Yeah. You just made me think of a quote, because everything you're talking about there is about preparation and thinking about the different scenarios and, trying to think ahead. It made me think of, so Alabama football coach Nick Saban, one of the quotes you just made me think of, it's not the will to win that matters, but the will to prepare to win that matters.
For sure. And I agree 100%. And that's where I think right now the time is to sit down and just start mapping out some strategies and, start thinking about some things. Okay, if my soil has limited moisture capacity, but the soils are warm, how far do I risk seeding deep? And you have to start thinking about is how much moisture can I put on top of the seed to help keep it sealed so that you can germinate and get out of the ground? And you got to remember is that I'm not a proponent of deep seeding, but there are scenarios where if we're looking at long-range weather forecasts, your local weatherman is telling you for the next 10 to 14 days, we've got nothing but 16 and 17-degree weather. My temperatures are 8 and 10. You know what? Maybe I should be chasing that moisture, not trying to skim it in at 3/4 to 1 inch. Maybe I need to start thinking 1.25 inch and a little bit deeper, and then accommodate my seeding rates. And that's a discussion farmers need to be having with their agronomists is how deep are you feeling good about this? The other thing that I'm seeing too, in just the discussions, I've talked to some guys who have been conservation tillage for a number of years now, and they're still going that 1 inch. Well, they're actually stranding seed in their duff layer, and they need to be thinking about getting into that mineral layer with good moisture. So, those are the kind of things that I would be thinking about now. And guess what? If we get a nice winter spring snowstorm and we get 8 inches to a foot of heavy wet snow, this is probably not the big issue that we're worried about, but at least we're prepared for those scenarios.
Yeah. When we've been talking to Pioneer Seeds agronomists here on the Thursday show on the Farmer Rapid Fire over, really the whole summer and into fall, a lot of talk in Manitoba about verticillium. How big of an issue is it in Alberta?
Well, we don't know exactly how big of an issue, but we have found many fields, many confirmed fields. I have to be blunt, Sean. I actually missed a couple of years ago a field that I wrote off as blackleg because I always thought it was blackleg, not even thinking verticillum, because we never saw shredding. And that was one of the telltale signs. And the thing is, we learned some things this year is that when you get a verticillium field, you cut the stems in half above the blackleg line, and you'll actually see like this diamond or a star shape inside the cortex. And the xylem and phloem are basically destroyed. And a couple of years ago, I walked the field and I thought it was blackleg, never even thinking about it because I didn't see the common shredding. And I misdiagnosed it. And I went, oh my God, I'm getting old. But what it was, didn't understand enough about it. This year, we were seeing fields with shredding going on, which is probably the first time we've seen this in Alberta. However, as far as east or west as Camrose, as far north as Westlock, we were finding in that southern corridor verticillum. And it was just because we could see this premature dry down based upon the year. And so we were called out to these fields, and sure enough, it was verticillum. And so once it was sent away to the proper labs, we got it back. It was positive. So I think it's a little more widespread than what we thought. Originally, we didn't think it was nothing but a Manitoba, maybe a eastern Saskatchewan thing, but it turns out it is an Alberta problem now as well.
Yeah, something to watch out for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And so part of that thing is going to go back to, like we talked about, clubroot. It's rotation. It's selecting proper hybrids that have resistance. Every company is working hard on verticillum resistance. There's some hybrids that are resistant, but some that aren't. But we're seeing also, too, is that the dry Junes are playing a role in it, blackleg, and then you get this hot weather in June seems to help spread this disease. And it seems to be the early maturing hybrids are seeing more of the issue than the later season, but the late season hybrids were still getting it. It just wasn't showcasing it as much when we got into that later part of August this year. So it's just another watch out.
Yeah, just another thing. Just one more, like as if that list wasn't long enough already. We got to add another thing to it. Well, hey, Doug, thanks for joining us here. Really, really appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and look forward to chatting many times in 24.
That sounds great, Sean, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
If you have any feedback on today's show, send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. Big shout out to Pioneer Seeds Canada, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the RealAg Radio podcast, brought to you by the BC Centre for Agritech Innovation at Simon Fraser University, your go-to for advancing agritech. Ready to elevate your farm business? Achieve the productivity and profitability you're looking for with Agritech Development Program. Google SFU Agritech Innovation to learn more.